Stand still for a moment and feel your spine. It is not just a column of bone. It is the very tree of your life. Every breath you take, every step you walk, every thought you express travels through the silent pillar. Yet, how rarely we thank it, how often we ignore it until it cries out in pain. Today, I want to change that. Because what if I told you that the strength of your spine, your posture, even your energy, depends not on medicine or miracle, but on the very foods you place on your plate each day. 7 foods. Simple, accessible, backed by science. The difference between stiffness and strength, between frailty and freedom, could begin with what you eat tonight. When we speak of the spine, we speak not just of a column of bones, but of a foundation, one that sustains every gesture, every thought expressed through movement, every breath that keeps us alive. It is the unseen pillar of human dignity and strength. Yet how little attention we give to it until it cries out in pain. This neglect is not from malice, but from ignorance. An ignorance we can remedy with knowledge, awareness, and discipline. The same principle that once guided us to conquer disease can guide us now to preserve vitality, prevention through nourishment, through intelligent choices that respect the wisdom of the body. The foods we eat are not merely calories or taste. They are messages. Each nutrient speaks a language our cells understand. Our bones, our nerves, our muscles, they listen and they respond. When we eat well, we give the body the vocabulary to repair itself, to stand firm, to endure. When we eat poorly, we rob it of this language and silence the harmony that sustains our strength. The spine, perhaps more than any other structure, reflects this truth. It demands balance, strength and flexibility, support and mobility, protection and freedom. To achieve this, we must feed it wisely. There are foods that serve as allies of the spine. They reduce the inflammation that erodes its tissues. They supply the minerals that fortify its bones. They protect the delicate nerves that thread through its structure. Fatty fish rich in omega-3 oils calm the fires of inflammation that age the discs. Leafy greens deliver calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K, the silent builders of vertebral strength. Nuts and seeds contribute trace minerals and good fats that keep the connective tissues supple and alive. Lean proteins rebuild what time and strain tear down. Whole grains and fruits bring fiber and antioxidants that sustain digestion and protect against cellular decay. Each of these foods carries within it not only nourishment, but intelligence, an evolutionary dialogue between nature and human health. What we learn from this is simple but profound. The future of our well-being does not depend solely on medicine or intervention, but on the choices we make at the table. Just as I once believed that the prevention of disease is nobler than its cure, I believe now that the preservation of health is more powerful than the recovery from illness. The spine reminds us of that every day. It is both fragile and resilient, dependent on our care, but capable of extraordinary endurance when supported. Let us, therefore, choose not to wait for weakness or pain to command our attention. Let us act with foresight, with reverence for the body's design, for in the act of nourishing the spine, we nourish our capacity to move, to work, to live. This is not a prescription. It is a promise that by feeding the body what it was meant to receive, we align ourselves with the deeper order of life itself. That is where health begins, with understanding, with responsibility, and with respect. Knowledge, when coupled with compassion, becomes the most powerful medicine. I have always believed that science is not merely the pursuit of discovery, but the art of service, of applying understanding to preserve the human experience. When we speak of spinal health, we are speaking not only of anatomy, but of vitality itself. The spine is the axis of our existence. It allows us to stand upright, to move through the world with purpose, to hold our head high in both a physical and a moral sense. Yet, we often fail to treat it with the respect it deserves. We respond to pain when it appears, rather than preventing the conditions that lead to it. But prevention, through nourishment and awareness, is far more powerful than correction after injury. The body is an ecosystem of relationships. Every cell communicates, every organ cooperates, and every movement depends on the quiet strength of the spine. It is the bridge between thought and action. And like any bridge, it must be maintained through the materials we supply to it: nutrients, hydration, rest. What we eat becomes the architecture of our resilience. This is not poetic, it is biological truth. Calcium and magnesium knit our vertebrae together. Omega-3s soothe the inflammation that erodes them. Protein rebuilds the tissues that stabilize them. Vitamins D and K regulate these processes in perfect synchrony, like a symphony of microscopic precision. The foods that contain these nutrients are not luxuries, they are necessities. Imagine a life where every meal you eat strengthens the very structure that keeps you moving. A breakfast of oats with almonds and berries feeds not just hunger, but endurance. A lunch rich in greens and lean proteins fortifies your posture, your energy, your focus. A dinner with fatty fish and whole grains repairs what the day has worn down. This is not a diet, it is a philosophy, a decision to respect the relationship between nourishment and movement, between intention and longevity. The spine thrives when we feed it with purpose. I have always held that progress begins when we take responsibility for what is within our control. We cannot prevent every illness, but we can reduce the odds. We cannot promise eternal youth, but we can delay decline through wisdom and consistency. Our food choices, small as they seem, accumulate into habits that shape the body's destiny. A life lived with awareness becomes a life sustained by design, not by chance. The spine rewards such mindfulness with grace, strength, and freedom of motion. Let us then not wait for crisis to awaken our sense of care. Let us practice prevention as an act of gratitude for the body that serves us faithfully, for the mind that directs it, for the life that depends on both. If we choose well today, the years ahead will be kinder to our movement, our posture, and our peace. That is not only science, it is wisdom. Health, as I have often reflected, is not merely the absence of disease, but that the presence of harmony, a state in which the body, mind, and spirit work together toward balance. The spine is a symbol of that harmony. It supports the body's architecture and houses the vital cord through which every message between brain and body travels. When the spine falters, the communication of life itself becomes interrupted. Thus, to care for the spine is to safeguard the integrity of the human experience. This understanding demands not fear, but responsibility, an active, deliberate stewardship over our physical well-being, and that stewardship begins with something as elemental, as profound, as food. The foods we consume form the scaffolding of our strength. They are not mere indulgence or habit. They are instructions to the body on how to heal, rebuild, and thrive. Science teaches us that specific nutrients fortify the very tissues that keep our spinal column flexible and durable. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish, walnuts, and flaxseed act as peacemakers in the body, easing the silent inflammation that erodes the discs between vertebrae. Magnesium and calcium from greens, nuts, and seeds lay the mineral foundation of bone density. Proteins, drawn from lean meats and legumes, supply the amino acids that rebuild muscles and ligaments, the very supports that hold the spine upright. Antioxidants from fruits, such as berries and citrus, shield our cells from the subtle damage of oxidative stress. In these foods, nature has encoded a design for resilience, waiting for us to rediscover it. There is a principle I have always valued, that prevention is not an act of fear, but of faith in the intelligence of life itself. When we nourish our body wisely, we are not fighting against decline, we are aligning ourselves with the very processes that sustain vitality. The spine, more than any other structure, responds to this care. It rewards consistency, patience, and respect. Every choice, every meal, every nutrient we take in contributes to its strength or its surrender. The outcome is not determined by fate, but by practice. What fascinates me is how the smallest, most ordinary actions, a handful of nuts, a bowl of greens, a serving of fish, can alter the course of one's health. This is where the true power of science meets the art of living. The discoveries we make in laboratories mean little unless they are carried into the rhythm of daily life. Knowledge must become habit. Habit must become culture. If we can inspire people to eat, not only for pleasure but for purpose, we can create a generation that stands taller, moves freer, and ages with grace. We stand at a moment in history where we know what to do. We have the evidence, the insight, the tools. What remains is the will. Let us use that will not just to extend life, but to elevate its quality. Let us feed the spine, not with excess, but with intention. For in doing so, we do not simply preserve our posture. We preserve our capacity to live fully, to think clearly, and to move with purpose. Someday, years from now, you will stand, stretch, and feel the ease of motion that comes not from luck, but from care. You will realize that the strength of your spine was built one thoughtful meal at a time, quietly, consistently, faithfully. The foods you chose became the foundation of your freedom. So begin today. Don't wait for pain to remind you of what health demands. Let your choices honor the body that carries you through life. Feed it wisely. Strengthen it daily. And when you stand tall tomorrow, you will know you built that strength with intention,